हेलो दोस्तों, स्वागत है आप सभी का हमारे चैनल इग्नो सेंटर पर। तो दोस्तों हम आपसे MAG01 के जो 2023 टू 22 का जो है सॉल्व असाइनमेंट वो डील कर रहे हैं, और हमने आगे ही आपको क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 2 3 4 करा चुका है। और आपको आज हम क्वेश्चन नंबर जो है वो 5 कराने जा रहे हैं। तो दोस्तों क्वेश्चन नंबर 5 आपका रहेगा, व्हाट वाज द रिफॉर्मेशन, व्हाट रिलेशन can you identify and trace between the Renaissance and the Reformation? So friends, हम आपसे एक रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं कि अगर आप हमारे चैनल के साथ नए जुड़े हैं तो चैनल को ज़रूर सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिएगा। और साथ ही साथ हमारा एक चैनल है जिसका नाम है जर्नी बडी, जो कि आपको डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में लिंक मिल जाएगा, उसको भी सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिएगा। और वो हमारे ब्लॉग से रिलेटेड है और आपको वो चैनल भी बेहतरीन मज़ा दिलाएगा। तो दोस्तों बढ़ते हैं आज के हमारे जो टॉपिक है उसकी ओर। तो दोस्तों जैसे ही हम आपको बोल रहे थे कि आज हम सॉल्व असाइनमेंट आपको कराएंगे क्वेश्चन नंबर 5 का, तो ये है हमारा सॉल्व असाइनमेंट का PDF। और दोस्तों ये हमने ख़रीद कर आपके लिए रीड कर रहे हैं। तो दोस्तों हम आपके लिए बहुत मेहनत कर रहे हैं, थोड़ा हमारे भी सपोर्ट करिएगा कि हम अपने चैनल की जो रीच है उसको ग्रो कर पाएँ। तो दोस्तों हमारा जो क्वेश्चन है क्वेश्चन नंबर 5 है, और हम आपको क्वेश्चन नंबर 5 आज कराएंगे। तो और हमारा क्वेश्चन है, व्हाट वाज द रिफॉर्मेशन, व्हाट रिलेशन कैन यू आइडेंटिफाई एंड ट्रेस बिटवीन द रेनेसां एंड द रिफॉर्मेशन। और इसका आंसर है, द इंग्लिश न्यू एज ऑफ चेंजेस was greatly influenced by the another important historical phenomena, which was much different than continental age of Reformation. The Reformation referred to the various violent movements against the Roman Catholic Church, which spread over the European countries in 14th and 15th century, demanding large-scale reforms in old beliefs and practice. The Bible was translated from Latin and Greek into European vernacular language. This work was led by persons like Martin Luther 1483 to 1546 and John Calvin 1509 to 64. However, this work was preceded by Reformation like St. Francis, Peter, Waldo, John Huss, John Wycliffe, who repeatedly criticized the malpractice in religious areas from the 13th century onwards. The transformation in 16th century adopted Protestantism. The Reformation started on October 31, 1517, and this critiquing the church at the Castle Church, Wittenberg. Luther was expelled from Catholic Church against his own desire. Later on, Reform, however, picked up on the principle of dissent as practiced by Luther and then deliberately broke from Catholic Church, plunging much of Europe into the religious and civil strife action for the next few centuries. The Reformist spirit had made its way to England by the time of Luther. John Wycliffe 1330 to 84 protested against the excessive power of Catholic Church and was first in translating Bible into English. Wycliffe's translation of New Testament did not have much effect on the religious imagination. William Tyndale 1484 to 1536 wrote a much more accessible translation of the Bible. At the time, Henry VIII, who was earlier a great supporter of Catholic orthodoxy, broke away from the Roman influence in 1535. Then the Reformation in England became politically powerful, although it was affected by King desires from the formation of the Church of England, which would be in favor of both Catholicism and also Protestantism. However, Protestantism flourished in the form of sects like the Diggers, the Quakers, the Presbyterians. It is greatly affected the politics both of society and culture. Their impact is greatly felt, especially in the tempering of New Age humanism and sexualism, though the consistent maintenance of Christian tradition over classical ideals. So, although there is sufficient Italian influence on the English literature of that period, it still remains influenced by the Christian version, showing it in the literature a tension between a strong liking for the form and also an equally its moral condemnation. The Reformation force have meditated and also tempered both in the Renaissance into the English culture in England. As a result of its English society became recognized in 15th century England had the agrarian and feudal social economical structure. Major population, however, lived in the rural countryside. However, plague epidemics repeatedly had subsequently affected the population. Therefore, the population remained almost the same. There became the shortage of labor, resulting in the increase of labor cost. These people form a new class of small farmer called as yeomen. Due to lack of labor, land enclosures were made and turned into sheep pasture. This gave rise to the wool industry. The representation of the shepherd in English poetry is not because of classical influence or of biblical ones. It is, however, from the English social landscape itself. London now grew as a commercial and political city. People started seeking for the political power in the city. They became the group of artisans and craft people whose service were of great necessity to the growing population. This emergence of this new social structure largely constitute to the dismantling of the rigid economy which was due to the industrial capitalism and that time in 19th century. The migrants to London in this century were seeking for social and economic uplifts. Such people become a ready constituency for Protestant group who gave them access to educational possibilities by promoting literacy. This matter caused the sense of tense between the humanistic education that became available to them and the conservative reformist type of moral structure. This type of tension multiplied due to the changes in the affiliation with the different monarchical authorities, such like cultural level, even though political tension were also present. This rejected the unwanted things present in the Renaissance, promoting the idea of Englishness superior than the rest of Renaissance of Europe. Many playwrights of the period set their comedies and satirical work of Shakespeare or of Johnson work in Italy, informing that the vice and venalities depicted in the play were the illness of Italianated character. This type of rejection by English writer permitted them to import forms and themes styles from the continent and also to freely changing to suit to the existing tradition of English literature and repeatedly evolving English language. They also influenced in it the moral and social version. In this way, many main elements of European Renaissance, which were not opposed to Protestant ideals, and the new literature of England, celebration of human spirit and intellectual and arts and writing skill was now considered of signal importance, which was considerably adopted by Spencer. At his primary school and Cambridge University, now we will briefly examine as to how this type of skill become an important aspect of court life in the New Age of England. Reformation refers to the European Christian reform movement that established Protestantism as a constituent branch of contemporary Christianity. It began in 1517 when Martin Luther published the 95 Theses and concluded in 1648 with the Treaty of Westphalia that ended 131 years of consecutive European religious war. The Reformation began as an attempt to doctrinally reform the Catholic Church affected by Western European Catholics who oppose what they perceive as false doctrines and stylistic malpractice, especially the teaching and the sale of indulgences and simony, the selling and buying of clerical offices that the reformers saw as evidence of the systemic corruption of the church hierarchy, which included the Pope. We can say that there exists a close relation between the Renaissance and Reformation. Renaissance made a great impact on the world than just in art, education, and technological advance. The Renaissance was a rebirth that was encouraged by the studying of classical texts that helped change personal view of oneself and the world. The Renaissance and the Protestant Reformation can be tied together because the Renaissance triggered a new flows of ideas, and with the printing press facilitating the spread of these ideas, people began to question their faith in the Catholic Church, ultimately leading to the Reformation. The Renaissance raised questions about the path to salvation by integrating new ideas, particularly the belief in individualism, which was the conviction that there is human ability to choose between right and wrong. The Catholic Church vehemently pushed the idea that salvation would only be found within the church, but when a Christian monk named Martin Luther interpreted a Bible passage stating just shall live by his faith to mean that faith alone would save the soul, he began to challenge the church. So, friends, till here we have finished question number 6, and in our last part, we made question number 6 and your MJ01 question was finished. So, friends, after making MJ01, we also make MJ02 and all the solve assessment here. So make subscribe to our channel, and please don't forget to subscribe my another channel which name is Journey Buddy, and the description box you find the link. Thank you.